The News 4 Rundown starts now.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the News 4 Rundown. I'm Un Yang. It's Monday, May 18th, and here's a look at what we have coming up tonight. The chair of the Prince George's County Planning Board is stepping down amid claims he abused his chairmanship. In an exclusive phone conversation, Daryl Barnes denies all wrongdoing. What else he told the News 4 I-team. Plus, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. We're working for your health tonight, the warning signs to look out for, and how red flags could be missed. Then, the sun may be going down, but today's heat is going to stick around. But for how long? Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Doug Kammerer following that for us tonight. But first, the stories making headlines nationwide and here at home. An Islamic center in San Diego, the scene of yet another mass shooting. 3 people working at the mosque were shot and killed. One of the victims was a security guard. The 2 suspects, just 17 and 19 years old. Police say they took their own lives. No one else was hurt. Investigators are working to learn the motive behind this shooting. The man connected to multiple shootings and carjackings in Prince George's County last week made his first court appearance today. His alleged rampage happened Friday at several different locations in College Park and Riverdale. Larry Simpson faces more than 60 charges, including attempted murder. Simpson was convicted of homicide in Prince George's County in 1983. He was released from jail in 2023. Simpson is now being held without bond. D.C. police are looking for the person they say chucked a keg through the window of Georgetown Cupcake. Video from inside the shop shows the keg going straight through the window, shattering the glass. According to the post from the cupcake shop, employees were inside at the time. D.C. police say no one was hurt, and they're still working to make an arrest. A viral fight at a D.C. Chipotle was caught on camera and caught the attention of U.S. Attorney for the district, Jeanine Pirro. The brawl happened on First Street Saturday night. D.C. police say 2 groups of juveniles started a fight using tables and chairs to hit each other. The suspects ran off before police arrived. It is unclear if the suspects are all teenagers, but Pirro is criticizing the D.C. Council for not giving police more ability to impose youth curfews this summer. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser says she has grave concerns about police pursuits after a chase in South D.C. 2 weeks ago that ended in a crash and left a man paralyzed. According to court records, members of a federal task force initiated the chase for a minor traffic violation. The man who was paralyzed was hit by the driver of the car trying to get away from police. It is just one example of multiple chases initiated by federal authorities since the surge of federal officers began in D.C. last August. One of those chases ended in the death of a teenager. News 4's Paul Wagner has a story you will only see on News 4.
On Sunday, May 3rd, just after 11 p.m., there was a horrific crash here at the intersection of 9th Street and Southern Avenue Southeast. Firefighters responding to the scene found a red Audi in the woods.
We had a vehicle overturned on fire in the woods. What handle was that? If they need ALS, send them another paramedic engine company.
According to a court affidavit, a federal task force working in Southeast stopped the driver for speeding and changing lanes without caution. The affidavit says the driver, identified as Blake Washington, suddenly accelerated around the agents and took off at speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour. The affidavit says federal agents entered their vehicles and began to pursue the vehicle southbound on Southern Avenue. Shortly after the pursuit began, police say Washington hit a car with a man and woman inside. The court affidavit says the man was knocked unconscious, and doctors say he had a 50% chance of walking again. On Friday, News 4 asked D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser what she knew about the pursuit.
Here's the thing with car chases. People get hurt, and it's not always the bad guys. And nobody should be speeding for minor crimes in the city.
D.C. police confirmed a D.C. police officer was a passenger in the vehicle that initiated the pursuit.
There is an MPD officer being investigated for any role that he or she may have played in a pursuit.
For the last several weeks, News 4 has documented through federal court records a number of pursuits begun by officers with the U.S. Park Police, including one chase over a stolen tag that began in Northeast D.C. and ended in Capitol Heights, Maryland. On March 12th, U.S. Park Police say officers spotted a stolen car on Haynes Point and began a pursuit. This video, recorded by Dave Statter, shows the pursuit, where police say a tire deflation device was deployed, but the car continued at a high rate of speed before crashing into a tree near the tidal basin. 18-year-old Josue Chavez was killed, and 2 passengers were injured. Prior to last August, when President Trump declared a crime emergency here in the district, U.S. Park Police officers were only allowed to pursue a suspect if a violent felony had taken place or that suspect was known to be in possession of a firearm. We wanted to talk to the U.S. Park Police chief about the new policy, but our requests were denied. That new policy, it was put in place last August at the beginning of the federal surge. The change, as it was described by Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, drew laughter in a White House cabinet meeting.
I was shocked to find out when we were talking to them, like, oh, you pull somebody over and they just drive away and you can't pursue them? I mean, like, and they said, no, we can't. They said, oh, rules. We got that rule changed in 24 hours because of President Trump's leadership. The next night, they had so much fun. They pulled people over. They started to take off. They chased them. They stopped them.
According to the general orders published on the U.S. Park Police website, U.S. Park Police may initiate vehicular pursuits when 1, the suspect is wanted for or suspected of committing a felony offense, or 2, a threat exists to the public based on the suspect's actions. News 4 has so far been unable to reach family members of the teen killed on Haynes Point. In the district, Paul Wagner, News 4.
News 4 was able to reach the passenger in the car hit by the fleeing driver on Southern Avenue, but she declined to comment or put us in touch with the driver who was paralyzed in that crash. We also reached out to the U.S. Marshal Service for a statement on behalf of the President's Safe and Beautiful Task Force in D.C. The agency declined to comment. The Prince George's County Planning Board is searching for a new chairperson after Daryl Barnes abruptly resigned. On Sunday, the News 4 team broke the news that Barnes stepped down after a planning commission attorney accused him of using his position for personal gain and retaliating against her when she pushed back on his financial requests. Investigative reporter Tracy Wilkins has the story now.
Barnes denied all wrongdoing in an exclusive phone call with me over the weekend. He told me he was limited in what he could say because of an ongoing investigation. The concerns were raised by Deborah Borden, the top attorney for the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, in a confidential letter sent to the board in February. The letter became public last week. We obtained a copy of the letter through a source with knowledge of one of the investigations. In it, Borden accuses Barnes of abusing his chairmanship. Some of the allegations include trying to pressure staff to hire his sister, attempting to direct vendor contracts to his own businesses and friends, using taxpayer dollars to purchase an SUV worth approximately $100,000 for commission work, then removing its ability to be tracked, and asking the commission to pay for his private club dues in Virginia. Borden alleges Barnes threatened to have her fired when his requests were denied. The complaint was submitted to the Planning Commission by Borden's private attorney, who indicated additional litigation on her behalf, saying Barnes' alleged conduct threatened the integrity and reputation of the commission, which supervises land use and zoning matters for both Prince George's and Montgomery counties. In the resignation letter Barnes provided News 4, he said he was submitting his resignation to avoid further distraction from the commission's work and that he continues to dispute the allegations that have been made against him. Barnes is a former state delegate and was appointed by Prince George's County Executive Aisha Braveboy in July of 2025. Braveboy will now name his replacement, which must be confirmed by the county council. Barnes confirmed that the planning board is investigating Borden's claims. The county executive's office tells me its attorneys are also investigating. Both investigations will continue despite his resignation. Now, I reached out to Borden about her leaked complaint. She told me she could not comment due to attorney-client privilege. The attorney representing her in this matter could not be immediately reached for comment. As this moves forward, the commission said it's installed a temporary chair and its work continues. I'm Tracy Wilkins of the News 4 team. Back to you all.
Our thanks to Tracy tonight. Much more ahead on the News 4 Rundown, including Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Cameron's summer forecast.
Yeah, summer forecast coming up, and boy, did it feel like summer today. Even record-breaking heat. We saw 93 in D.C., 95 Hagerstown, 96 in Richmond. We'll talk more about what to expect over the next couple of days. More heat out there, and Memorial Day weekend. A change coming up as far as the weather is concerned, plus that summer forecast. See you back here in a minute.
We got Mystics, we got Nats, and maybe, just maybe, a local boy coming back to the Commanders. Don't miss sports coming up as News 4 rolls on.
All right, today really felt more like a summer day in July, and Doug was going to give us our forecast, but he had to go back into the Weather Center to check something. Is there something going on that we should know about?
No. Just I was making sure nothing was going on. We had some
right.
severe thunderstorms in parts of our area a little bit earlier.
We did?
Those are now out of here, so no problem. That was really around areas like Martinsburg, Winchester, saw some storms. The rest of us, no storms.
And that's not surprising. It's hot and humid.
Yeah.
I feel like that leads to storms.
I mean, that's what we talk about summertime, right?
Yeah.
Hot, humid, chance of a thunderstorm in the afternoon. Yeah, that's what we saw out there in parts of the area. Take a look at this. As the sun is going down, sunset after 8 o'clock. Well, after 8 o'clock now, look at that. Hazy, hot, and humid conditions remain. Temperature-wise, we're at 91 degrees. Dew point into the 60s. We saw a dew point of 68 at one time. Our heat index got up to 98 degrees in the city. Average high temperature this time of year, still in the 70s. We are way above average. 91 in Leesburg, 90 in Manassas, 90 in Gaithersburg, 91 right now in Hagerstown, 92 in Fredericksburg. Dulles Airport hit 95. That was a record high temperature today. Also, look at this. Martinsburg, I told you about the storm. Only 76 degrees there right now as a result of that rain-cooled air. Still look at a little bit of a heat index out there, but not much of one. 93 Manassas, 95 degrees in Leesburg. Now, take a look at the radar picture. Not much going on. Got a couple of showers up here towards areas just to the east of Hagerstown. Back to the west, tracking some into Garrett County, moving towards Frostburg. But that's really it. We're not going to see much in the way of any more rain tonight. But we are tracking multiple systems in the middle part of the country from areas like over towards Detroit down through Cincinnati, back towards St. Louis. Tremendous amounts of rain here. Farther to the west, this is an ongoing tornado outbreak between Omaha and Wichita. All of these systems are going to make their way across the country, and they're going to start to impact us as we make our way through the next few days. These were the storms early at 5 o'clock. Watch how they just kind of dissipated. Now, what are we seeing? Well, by 8 o'clock, coming up, we just showed you the showers back towards Garrett County. But as we move on through the night tonight, those showers give way to what should be no problems early tomorrow morning, upper 60s to low 70s. A very warm start out there on our Tuesday. By noon, already in the upper 80s to low 90s. It is going to be a very hot day. I think tomorrow will be hotter than it was today. There is a chance of a shower or storm, but most of us should stay on the drier side. High temperatures back into the mid-90s. If we hit 96, and I am going 96, that would tie a record high temperature. Dulles' record is much lower at 92. I think we beat that no problem at all. Now, as we move on through the next few days, we've got 96 on your Tuesday, 95 on Wednesday. Chance of storms on Wednesday, later in the afternoon, and really later in the evening. They could be strong, possibly severe. 68 on Thursday, 64 cool degrees and showers on Friday. Not a very nice day. Memorial Day weekend, not the best weekend, but I also don't think it's all that bad. These will be scattered showers Saturday, Sunday, a little bit better chance on Monday with temperatures in the 70s. So it's not all day rain. So I wouldn't cancel any plans yet. If you're going to the beach, though, I would prepare for more cloud cover than sunshine and some shower activity. Okay. Let's talk about summer weather outlook. What are we looking at? Well, anytime I make my forecast for whether it's the summer weather outlook or the winter forecast, the very first thing I look at, the very first ingredient I look at is the El Nino. What's happening? Well, we're coming out of a weak La Nina that we saw last winter, and we're moving towards what could be a strong El Nino and maybe one of the strongest we've ever seen in this area. So we're going to be tracking that very closely. That has huge implications on our weather. Something else that does, Atlantic sea surface temperatures. These right now are near average. The blue a little bit above or a little bit below average and well below average just off our coast. Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean. We're looking at these numbers to be a little above average, but close to average. So it's not going to impact, I think, the hurricane season all that much, and hurricane season should be way down. Enhanced southern jet stream, late summer into winter. What does this do? Well, the jet stream moves across the south. That means the potential for severe weather in towards parts of the south. Strong storms, good rain potential, and some of those storms will make their way our way. I don't think we'll see as much of the severe storms here, but down to the south could be some severe weather. That's something we'll be tracking. I do think, however, this will help with rainfall. Okay, what about hurricane season? Well, a slow season with 9 to 13 named storms. That's a little bit below average, expecting 4 to 7 hurricanes, 1 to 2 major hurricanes, and more like 1, I think. Gulf Coast, Florida. Those will be where the biggest impacts are going to be. What about the heat? Well, it's going to be a warm summer, but not much extreme heat. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm not expecting temperatures over 100 degrees. It's going to be humid, though. That's the one thing I am going to be looking at. So we could see multiple days above 100 with humidity, but actual temperatures should stay in the 90s for the most part. And I'm going 36 to 46 90-degree days. That's a little bit below average. So all in all, not a bad forecast for us as far as the summer is concerned. And I do think it's one where we can make up, as far as rain is concerned, on the drought.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it comes as suicide rates in the U.S. are going up. 50,000 people died of suicide in 2023, and rates have gone up more than 30% in the last 25 years. Psychiatrist Dr. Joshua Weiner joins us now with more on the warning signs and how to intervene to get help. This is a tough subject, but one that's very important. Let's start with those warning signs. What should people watch out for if they are concerned about this issue?
Well, let me first say that suicide is hard to predict, right? So there can be some warning signs, but sometimes there aren't any warning signs. And I don't want people out there who are family members of somebody who actually committed suicide or died from suicide to feel like I'm the reason that this person's not alive. I missed the signs, because in many cases, it's incredibly hard to predict. I even had a patient who I saw in my office. I talked to him and he left my office and ended up committing suicide and dying from suicide. So, this stuff is very hard to predict. Now, the biggest risk factor is if somebody has made a suicide attempt in the past. So you always have to have, be more aware and mindful if that's happened. But certainly if you hear people saying things like, my life is miserable, everybody would be better off if I weren't alive, I'm a burden to everybody, these are things that you absolutely need to be taking seriously. Now, I will say, I see a lot of parents who come in and they're very worried because they have their young child, maybe 7 to 11-year-old, who's making statements. You hate me, I should just die, I should end my life. Parents of kids those ages, really don't worry. Of course, it's not good, but 99.9% of the time, your child is just frustrated and angry and upset, and that's the way they're expressing it. You need to talk to them about finding better ways to express themselves. But certainly when you hit those teenage years and older, that's when you really need to take these things much more seriously.
All right, so age is a factor. What are some common misconceptions about suicide?
I think the biggest misconception is that you can't ask somebody about suicide and if they're having thoughts about it because you're afraid that you're going to plant that idea in their head. Studies have looked at this multiple times. That is not the case. What you want to do is you actually do want to ask somebody if they're having a tough time. Hey, I've heard you, making some of these comments. I'm worried about you. Have you had any thoughts about hurting yourself or ending your life? And that opens the door for people to be able to talk about this. And when they talk about it, you don't want to just automatically give that, reflexive thing where, no, we all love you. You can't do that. That would be terrible for everybody. That's not really helpful. It might help some people. Really what you want to do is you want to be a good listener and you want to say, look, I think this is pretty serious. I want to help you get the help you need. That's going to be the most helpful way for you to address those situations.
So if you are then worried that you've heard the signs, you've had this conversation, what's the right approach to help someone?
You want to have this open dialogue. You want to talk about it. And I would say this for people, if you have somebody who's calling you, let's just say they're calling you at night, or you're hanging out with somebody, they've not been themselves for a while. They're making some scary comments about not wanting to be alive. And maybe they're pretty drunk or they're under the influence of something. I think it's easy for a lot of people to say, well, they're just messed up right now. They're just talking out, they're talking smack. They don't really mean it. And you would ignore it. That's actually the time that you want to take them the most seriously. That's the time when you want to say, hey, why don't you sleep at my place? Or let me sleep over, something like that. Because when people have had suicide thoughts and then they have substances in their system that lowers their inhibitions, and that really increases the likelihood that they're going to follow through and do something. So this is really important for people to be aware of.
Absolutely. And what are some resources that can help someone who is struggling with mental health issues and suicidal thoughts?
So I would say the biggest one for people to be aware of, and maybe some people don't know about this, is 988. So we know about 911. You call if there's an emergency for a mental health crisis, you can call 988. And, there are some preliminary studies that are coming out that have shown that there might be a slight dip for the first time in about 5 or 6 years in the suicide rate in the last year because of 988. So this is a good resource for people to be aware of. And, absolutely, if somebody's having these things, these thoughts, you have to get them help. There's just no two ways about it.
Absolutely. Dr. Joshua Weiner, thanks so much for that important information.
Thank you, Ann.
There are a lot of positive vibes when it comes to the D.C. sports scene right now. Nats, Mystics, and we're hoping the Commanders, too. A familiar face could be joining the Burgundy and Gold. And what about the team's recently released schedule? Looks tough so far. J.P. Finley breaks it all down for us.
The NFL schedule is so complicated, 32 teams, 17 games, traveling all over the world. So when it first comes out, it's a really big deal. But after a few minutes, you get to stop and take a look at how difficult some of these games are going to be for Washington. And look at this start. You've got back-to-back NFC East games on the road at Philly, at Dallas. Okay, fine. Then you get to have your home opener. Who's coming to town? The defending Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. Remember last year, Seattle came to Landover and wiped the floor with the Commanders. I'd argue that's about as difficult of a 3-game stretch to open the year as any team in the NFL. Oh, by the way, week 4, you're traveling to London to take on the Colts. Now, just because those games, the opening of this season, especially with 2 new coordinators, is super difficult, it doesn't mean there aren't stretches where Washington should be able to rattle off some wins. I really like this after Thanksgiving. They go out to Arizona, then to Tennessee. You do have Houston. Depending what C.J. Stroud is, Houston can be quite good. Their defense is very good. But then Atlanta, Minnesota, you've got some real teams in that stretch. If you could rattle off a win streak, win 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5, that's where Washington's going to really have to make some moves. Now, speaking of making moves for Washington, there's been so much talk about the receiver position, right? We've heard so much, probably too much, about Brandon Ayuk, who's under contract with the 49ers. What about Steph Diggs? We all remember his days at Maryland, an absolute star for the Terps, a star before that at Good Counsel High School. Steph Diggs last year was in New England. He was a 1,000-yard receiver on a team that went to the Super Bowl. Everyone I've talked to from New England said Steph Diggs was a great player in that locker room. He was certainly great for young quarterback Drake May on the field. Steph Diggs is a free agent. He works out here locally. His family lives here. Steph Diggs is the type of player when they're maybe going to add a veteran, maybe it's a week from now, maybe it's 3 months from now, just before the season, Steph Diggs could make a lot of sense for Washington. Just a name to put on your radar as we continue to hear about the receiver position. We'll see what happens there. Now, speaking of getting on the radar, how about the Washington Nationals? The Nats bats are red hot. They just won a series over the weekend against the Baltimore Orioles, that Beltway series we've heard so much. And how about Jacob Young? He's one of the best guys in that Nats clubhouse, really a stand-up guy. But he's known for his defense. He's known for his range in center field. He got hot with the bat this weekend. I mean, just hitting nukes out of Nats Park. The Nats start an important series tonight against the New York Mets. 4 games against the Mets. The Mets started terribly. They've kind of cleaned up their act. Listen, the Nats are only 1 game under 500. If they could win this series, go 3-1 against the Mets, things could get really interesting in Natstown. Where things are definitely interesting, the Washington Mystics on Friday night, they played Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, and the Mystics were fantastic in this thing. You see Kiki Arifin going to the bucket there. Now, check this out. This is right at the end of regulation, and it's good. It's good. They won the game on a half-court shot, except they didn't. Sonia Citron with the shot here, clearly after the clock, but they went on to win in overtime. Citron was phenomenal in that game. The Mystics, take down the Fever in Indiana. They play again tonight in Dallas against the Wings. We get to see AZ Fudd, certainly DC girls. Should be a fun one to watch if you're watching sports tonight. We got good news in DC sports right now. Keep it going.